Well, this is a really easy and a delicious lemon cake. And we have 2 eggs. We have 150 grams of flour and the same quantity, 150 grams of fine sugar. That will be caster in England. We've got 100 grams of butter. And I've got the zest of 2 lemons and 60 mils of milk. And there is no raising agent. We're relying on the beater beating some air into it. This is for the syrup and it's separate completely. We're using the 1.5 of the lemons that we zested. That's the juice of, and we've got some sugar here. And depending on how sweet you like it, I've actually got 4 large teaspoons heaped as high as they'll go, and that's what I've got here. You can increase that if you want to have it more sweet and sticky, but I find that makes it very zesty and very lemony, and that is kept separate, and we'll make up the syrup after we put the cake in the oven. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put this and soften it a little bit. Just a little bit. We don't want to melt it because we want to put it in here and beat some air into it, which we can't do if it's already a liquid state. So I'm putting in all of the sugar and the butter. Now, my mixer doesn't get to the very floor, so I'm going to be poking it off the floor, and it is very, very soft. Now, now can you see that it's gone a whiter colour because of the air that we've put in? Now I'm going to take a little bit of the flour, just a little bit, and a little bit of the egg. Not very much at all. A little bit more, and a little bit of the egg. And you can see it's very, very white, the mixture. We've incorporated a lot of air, and those little air bubbles will help make a very nice crumb. We're not making a brownie, which is soft and squidgy. We're making a crumb cake. Now we're going to add in the rest of the flour. And I'm going to drip in a little bit of the milk and put the rest in as I spin it. And you can see how soft and light we've managed to make this. If you haven't got one of these machines and you haven't got the time to beat it like this, then add some artificial chemical, a raising agent. But the raising agent will take out all the vitamin Bs, which is a bit of a shame really. Now I'm going to add these, the rind, in the form of zest, and that's going to be absolutely zesty and fragrant. I can already smell it all over the kitchen, yes? I think modern machines do go to the very bottom and they do fit better, but I've had this about 30 years and it hasn't worn out, so I'm just going to keep using it for the moment. We now have our mixture ready. Oh dear! I want all of it, because it really is absolutely lovely. Here's my lined 20 centimetre or 8-inch tin, and it's lined with one of these custom made cases. They're very cheap, they do save a lot of time, they're readily available. And I just pour this in. We try to just spread it a little bit across. It's going to go into a hot oven of 160 fan, and it's going to take about 45 minutes, which sounds a very long time, doesn't it? And there you are, that's the last of it. It doesn't have to be perfectly flat, but you do want to try to not get too many thick and too many thin bits. Now we're just going to pop it into this oven. And come back. While the cake is cooking, I'm going to make up the syrup. It couldn't be more simple. This is the juice of 1.5 of the lemons that we zested. And this is 4 very heaped teaspoons of fine sugar. And all we have to do is to stir it until it dissolves. Now, what you're going to be doing is the moment that cake you think is ready, you're going to take it out of the oven, you're going to stand it on the wooden work surface, and you're going to gently pour this over the top. And when I say gently, I mean very slowly, because if you pour it too fast, it runs down the sides and you get a sort of sticky side, but not in the middle. So you need to just do little bits. And the heat of the cooling cake actually helps the thing evaporate, but equally it's still willing to absorb this syrup, and so it isn't soggy. What you've got is a real zesty topping, and we've actually dissolved the sugar now, I think. Let's have a look underneath. Yeah, that's dissolved. That wasn't difficult. We leave that ready for when the cake comes out. So we'll pour that onto the hot cake, and we'll leave the whole thing in the tin in its paper case to cool down. Right, it's had its full 45 minutes, and let's just have a little check. Yes, it's bouncing back when you press on it. We can just do another little check. We can just slide a knife and you can see it's come out totally clean. That is completely done. Now we need to pour this over very carefully. We make the top a little bit damp, and once it's made it damp, it will sink in better. What we don't want is for it just to all run around the edge and disappear, because that would be a bit sad. You can see how readily it just goes into the cake. This adds the incredible zesty bite, the acid, whilst the perfume from the lemons is actually in the cake. Now we just wait for a second. I want to make certain every single little piece has a touch of this, because this is a magic sauce. I prefer this sauce to a butter icing. I know the butter icings might look magical and wonderful, but I find them sickly. This is not. This is sharp. This is zesty. And you will like this. Also, this is a lot quicker and easier. There you are. We now just leave it and it will evaporate and finish itself off. Zesty.
Yes.
Sharp, sweet.
Cake, yes.
And the crumb. Beautiful light crumb.
Try some. Yeah.